What's going on, YouTube? Again, coming back to you with another observation of what I could have done better to prepare for Hurricane Helene and what it did for our family. So as I mentioned in some of our other videos, the other videos I pushed up were power generation. You don't realize how much you enjoy power until you try and go into a room and you flip off the light switch 4 or 5 times and it doesn't dawn on you that there's no power coming to the light switch. Like none. Especially fun at night. Especially fun trying to go into places like, the garage, which typically is not a very well lit area with windows. It's not, it's that kind of stuff. It's, a big deal, especially, sorry, GPS. It's weird. There's another thing that went out. You don't have cell phone service, you don't have GPS, you don't have power because you don't have your cell phone charged, you don't know where the hell you're going. Weird, huh? Anywho, so as I mentioned before, I have a solar battery bank. I like my Yeti Goal Zero. I have one of the bigger ones. It works pretty well for what you need it to work for, but it works better in a maintenance mode than it does in a emergency mode. What do I mean by that? Let me explain. So, as I said, we were out of town whenever the hurricane hit, and when it hit, it knocked out power about 5 a.m. Friday morning. That meant by the time I got to see the house 36 hours later at 5 p.m. Saturday, most of the fridge was already warm past the point of using. The freezer was okay, and my standalone freezer out in the garage was still okay. Good things, right? I was able to do certain things and at least preserve that food, get it cold again so it didn't go bad. Why does that matter? Well, fresh food is a really good thing to have. But then again, you got to remember there's a lot of other things that you're using that are drawing on that power. Like what? Rechargeable batteries for headlamps, rechargeable batteries for your cell phone or other electronics like the little battery banks, rechargeable flashlights. I've got several of those. Even the little solar powered radios, emergency radios. Oh yeah, it's charging off the sun. Look, that stuff's great, but up to a certain point, it doesn't charge past it because there's not enough wattage coming in to actually charge the battery. So it'll never get fully charged. So our emergency radios needed charging. So you start adding all these things on it. Plus, that poor freezer was trying to keep up, or was trying to keep things cold, so it was running constantly to try and drop it. So you figure it's probably supposed to run in maintenance mode, let's say 100 watts. 100 watts of power. And I know it's kind of scientific-ish, but it would peak, so if it's really trying to go hard, about 180 watts of power. Not a big deal. The battery bank can absolutely power that. There's an issue, though. You've got to power up the battery bank. Well, my dumbass did not learn something from the whole Army adage, 2 is 1, 1 is none. Yeah, well, I only had a single solar panel, 100-watt briefcase panel. Why? They're expensive. It's convenient. It's what I had available. And felt relatively safe from hurricane season. No one ever expects an emergency is going to happen. Again, my dumbass. So I'm trying to charge it. And just so everybody knows about solar panels, there's an average of about a 50% to a 50 to 60% conversion rate for your solar panel. What does that mean? If I say I'm getting a 100-watt solar panel, that means in reality, I'm actually only pulling, at best, bright sunlight, brightest part of the day, directly on the solar panels. I'm pulling maybe 50 to 60 watts worth of power. Well, that sounds good, right? Except for the fact I'm losing 180 out the back end. So that means I'm losing 3 times as much as I'm pulling in. So for every quarter I'm putting in, I'm losing 75 cents. So you can tell that this is not a winning proposition. Referencing back to I'll talk about that in a second. So talking about all of the other stuff that was going on, trying to get the food to stay cold, plus charge all of our electronics. Now, I had a backup system and setup, which is in the form of a Ram 2500 Dodge Diesel, which became an ipso facto power generator because it had multiple 110 outlet plugs that I could actually charge both the battery bank as well as all my phones and flashlights and kids' tablets for entertainment in school. Because, you know, while these other kids from public school are struggling to get, or are getting a week off, homeschoolers don't miss school for no hurricane. Now, it's not maybe say as stressful as it would be, but we're going to also make sure that we are pretty well taken care of. So the kids are doing schoolwork and things like that, plus they're trying to get everything done and clean up debris and help our neighbors and yada, yada, yada. Anyway, I'm losing power. I'm not able to charge fast enough. That's a problem. Now, when I had left, the battery bank was at a roughly 75%. So 75% is what it was naturally degrading to. So if you ever charge like your laptop and you leave it for like, I don't know, a couple weeks, don't charge it in, don't play with it, but you plug it back in or you turn it back on, it's lost some power. That happens. The other part with battery banks, specifically solar lithium-ion banks, is that it's kind of like your cell phones. The newer phones are a little bit better about it, but the old phones where they have degradation over time, so like after 1,000 cycles of it being charged all the way full, it starts to be, okay, the max it's going to charge is now 99% or 98%, 97%. And that's a problem, right? Because now I'm no longer banging at 100%, I'm actually banging at 98 or 97, 96. So you start doing all that stuff, and you start to see that there's a losing proposition. And so, why do I bring this up? Well, multiple reasons. One, diversity is a good thing, and not because I have some DEI stuff. Don't even get me started on that. But diversity in terms of your preps helps in the form of, hey, my next door neighbor who had a spare Honda generator was able to lend it to me. I had gas on hand. He had the oil for the generator. And we were able to knock it out where I could charge my battery bank as well as charge my damn freezer, so that way they were all good to go. Nice, right? So now my food's good, my house is good, all of our electronics are good. Awesome. So what do I do about it? Well, I just got finished meeting up with somebody about 2 hours away from me who I had talked to previously but didn't want to do business with because I didn't want to drop a ton of cash. Wife would have been upset if I had gone and done that on my own. But having talked to her, I said, look, this is a glaringly bad situation. If we get another tropical storm, which is possible, if we get another tropical storm, we could be out of power for a lot longer because guess what? The power crews can't work when there's a shitload of electromagnetic stuff in the air, like, I don't know, lightning. They tend not to like dying. So I went to go deal with them to get more of some of those. I don't know if you can see it back there. Those are 200-watt solar panels. And I grabbed a handful of them. And the reason why I grabbed a handful of them is because, again, 2 is 1, 1 is none. I have a single panel. If that panel breaks, I'm screwed. Like, straight up. Like, that battery bank is no longer valuable added to me unless I can charge it somewhere else, like off of somebody else's generator. And that makes that's not beneficial for anybody. But the diversity side of it is like, if I could find a cheap Honda 1400 Predator, 2000 Predator, which I looked at before for our RV living, that gave me immediate power to help boost things up in case it happens at night, because the storm hit our area relatively early in the morning. So it's it would have been a great way to help save and mitigate things. Also, having a system where it has a ton of power. So, solar generator, awesome. Great for charging most basic electronics and great for charging up what you need. And I like it because it's reusable fuel. However, that said, it does not have the same peak output if I want to charge a fan or I want to power a fan. I know one of the guys down the road from me has an 8600. That thing's pushing 8,000 watts. He's just shy of being able to power his entire house with this thing. Now, do I need something that big? No, I don't believe you do, because I don't necessarily want to charge my whole house. At least not in a grid down situation. But diversifying. I know that there's a lot of like tri-fuel generators where it'll do like propane, diesel, gas combined. I think that they're super cool, but I also think that they're super expensive. And again, I love having a diesel, gas, propane, whatever generator. It makes good sense. However, it makes horrible sense from the fact of you need to be able to supply it and sustain it. First 24 to 48 hours after this storm hit, nobody had fuel because all the gas stations require electric pumps to pull out fuel, which means that you can have a gas generator, and if you don't have gas on hand, guess what? It doesn't matter. I know, by the way, ethanol gas or unleaded gas, normal gasoline does go bad. I've heard everything from 3 months to 6 months. You can add Stabil in it, and that'll help stabilize it. But you know what doesn't go bad quite as quick is diesel, which I like a lot. That being said, still isn't ideal because most of the pumps, whenever they opened up, guess what they didn't have started? Diesel. Why? Because it's not as popular to run the generators off of. So everything is a plus or minus. So if you can try and mitigate your risk by spreading out your risk across everything, you'll do a lot better. So learn from my mistakes. Do better. Good luck to y'all.